The largest continuous land empire ever was built by the Mongols. The Mongol Empire, which Genghis Khan established in 1206, covered all of Asia, a portion of Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. The Mongols were warriors and rulers who made it possible for many cultures, languages, and religion systems to coexist. While their achievements have long been recognized, so too have their distinctive hygiene customs. Mongol hygiene appears, at best, basic to many of their contemporaries, let alone to modern observers. The Mongols held water in such high regard that they were unable to damage or pollute it. They consequently lived the majority, if not all, of their lives dirty and unwashed. The Mongols had peculiar cleaning customs that many outsiders found revolting, compounded by beliefs in the therapeutic powers of animals, their food practices, and a very non-Western approach to personal and public hygiene. The Mongols put water in their mouths before using it to wash their hair. During the 1250s, Franciscan missionary William of Rubruck traveled throughout the Mongol Empire and kept a journal of his journeys. Men's haircuts in the Mongol culture were documented by Rubruck, who noted that men often shaved portions of their heads, necks, and the forehead as far as the crown of the head. They then braided the lengthy hair on the sides of their heads. Similar to men, ladies shaved the tops of their heads after getting married and let the rest of their hair grow out long. Rubruck said, when they want to wash their hands or their head, they fill their mouths with water, which they let trickle onto their hands, and in this way they also wet their hair and wash their heads. The way the Mongols washed their hair was governed by their reverence for water and their desire to never disturb it. Genghis Khan commanded that if any water touched a person's face and then returned to the water source, they were to be put to death, according to records from the Mongol era. It is reasonable to assume that the procedure was put in place to stop the Mongols from pouring water back into the spring. When an arrow was shot, the Mongols used a retainer or servant to remove the blood. The Mongols were prone to arrow wounds due to their love of archery. Genghis Khan was wounded multiple times, but was kept alive thanks to the hard work of the men who diligently drew blood from his wounds. The Secret History of the Mongols, written in the 13th century, claims that when Genghis Khan had an uncontrollably bleeding neck wound, his retainer Jelm sucked out blood, which he swallowed or spat out. Genghis Khan requested a drink, so Jelm went in search of kumis, fermented milk, which he gave the Khan, likely to prevent dehydration after spending the previous night preventing deadly blood clots. Rashid ul-Din, a historian and doctor from Persia, wrote down something he claimed the Khan said. The blood-sucking activity, according to Genghis Khan, brought back the spark of life that had died, and he could move again. Gout was commonly treated by inserting the affected body part into a dead animal or person among the Mongols. Gout, which is brought on by overindulging in food and alcohol, was common among Mongols. Ibn Battuta, a traveler from the 14th century, visited the Golden Horde and met the daughter of a sultan whose husband was suffering from gout and was unable for this reason to go about on his feet or to ride a horse, and so used to ride only in a wagon. This disease is widespread among the Mongol. Genghis Khan's grandson Kublai Khan, who ruled China for a significant portion of the 13th century, had gout that restricted both his mobility as a warrior and as a leader. Mongols were told to place their feet in the breast of a dead horse as a gout remedy. However, there were other options besides horses. One medicine man in the Caucasus instructed Zul, a Mongolian general, to locate a youngster with red hair and place his foot into the child's abdomen in place of a horse. Zul tested this strategy on 30 kids. Ultimately, his suffering persisted, so he stopped seeing the doctor and fed his entrails to dogs. A Mongol could not under any conditions urinate in a body of water. For the Mongols, water was sacred, and tampering with or contaminating it was a crime. Because of the threat of thunderstorms, it was forbidden to wash one's hands or body during the spring or summer. One of the worst transgressions, though, was discharging bodily fluids into a stream, river, or other similar body of water. Many once religious taboos were given legal significance by Genghis Khan, and the Mongols severely forbade urinating in flowing water or within a building out of concern for upsetting spirits. If someone defecated in either on purpose, they would be executed. Mongols were severely penalized for unintentional peeing, and the money was used to clean the offended party's house and property. But prior to such purification, no one dares enter the dwelling or take anything from it. Anyone who washed their clothes was punished by the Mongols. Genghis Khan's code of laws known as the Yasa forbade the Mongols from washing their garments in running water. Although William of Rubruck believed it was out of fear that washing their clothes would trigger thunderstorms, some academics read the rule to only apply when there are thunderstorms. They never wash their clothes because, according to Rubruck, doing so would anger God and cause it to thunder if they hung the clothes up to dry. Thunder is also something they are extremely afraid of. When it happens, they will all leave their homes and go into hiding until the thunder has passed. They were punished for being caught despite their profound dislike of washing clothing. The Khan expected his people to wear the same garment till it was worn out without washing it. If a high-ranking official was hurt, they were placed in the open cavity of an ox. One of the soldiers suffered a shoulder injury when the Mongols struck Shoyang in 1274 in an effort to topple the Song dynasty. One of Kublai Khan's most dependable generals, Bayan, gave the order to cut open the belly of a water buffalo and put him in it after he was struck by an arrow once more. Then, after quite some time, he came to. Both water buffalo and oxen were employed because their bodies offered vital warmth. The significance of herding animals to Mongols also suggests that the activity was probably only performed by privileged males. Among Mongols, dirty hands and dirty clothes were the norm. The Mongols did very little washing. According to reports, when they ate, their hands were smeared in grease, fat, filth, and meat, which they then wiped on their rarely cleaned garments. However, the animal fat that they applied to their clothing served to shield the Mongols from the weather as they traversed the Central Asian steppes. The Mongols frequently covered their outer clothing with fat and grease to make it waterproof and windproof. Washing their clothing would have removed that protective layer. However, the Mongols also used various purification techniques. For the Mongols, fire served as a bridge between heaven and earth, warming their homes and, in the end, purging everything of dangerous components. Fear not, we only make you pass between these two fires, lest perchance you think something injurious to our Lord, or if you carry some poison, for the fire will remove all harm, was the advice given to Friar John of Pian de Carpine when he visited Kuyuk Khan's court in the 1240s. Mongols typically shared one cup. The Yasa, Genghis Khan's de facto code of law, addressed the widespread fear of poisons that plagued Mongol civilization. In order to ensure its safety, no food was to be ingested until the person delivering it had done so. Since his father died after consuming contaminated food that his opponents had delivered to him, Genghis Khan had good reason to be worried about poison. John of Pian del Carpine was cleaned by fire before visiting the court of Kuyuk Khan in the 1240s to make sure he wasn't carrying any poisons. This fear of poison permeated drinking habits as well. Chinese observers remarked that a single bowl or cup was carried around at Mongol feasts so that everyone may drink from it. Perishable meats and horse milk were preserved in novel ways by the Mongols. Jean de Joinville, a French chronicler, said that the Mongols cooked or tenderized raw flesh by placing it under their saddles. The Mongols surely consumed a lot of meat, even though this may not have been entirely accurate and was instead done to treat saddle sores on their horses. In addition to eating mutton and lamb, the Mongols were also known to eat horse meat, as well as the flesh of dogs, wolves, rats, and, in desperate situations, humans. Contrary to popular belief, meat was frequently cooked by the Mongols in order to maintain its spiritual qualities. They would only consume something raw if they were in extreme straits. When the meat was finished cooking, they rinsed the dish in which they are ready to set it out with some of the boiling liquid from the kettle, which they pour back into it. The Mongols never actually washed their dishes, this was the closest they got. The Mongol cuisine included kumis, or fermented mare milk, as a staple. The milk was turned into alcohol via fermentation, which was in line with John of Pian del Carpine's assertion that the Mongols regarded drunkenness as an honorable thing.